Instagram can't handle the naked truth. Glen Powell bears all has been in the new romantic comedy Anyone But You. But his cinematic nudity, used for both comedic and seductive effect, is so copious that it led to Instagram pulling a post about the film. My buddy, Tanner, wanted a post about the movie, Powell tells EW. His posts got taken down by Instagram because it violated the laws of nudity or whatever. And I was like, okay, when a friend support post of your movie gets flagged by Instagram, you've been too naked in the movie. In all seriousness though, Powell does have to expose himself as the literal butt of the joke quite frequently, most notably in a sequence where he hurriedly sheds his clothes after Sydney Sweeney finds a spider in his shorts. It required Powell to have a sense of humor about the situation. Over the course of my life and career, I've learned to be comfortable with it, he says. I was the kid at the pool that didn't want to even take his shirt off. As I've gotten older, I've realized that there's a time in your life and your career where this is the moment to do those things. Because your body's not going to look like that forever. In a rom-com, you know what you're selling, and as a rom-com leading man, you are supposed to get taken down as much as humanly possible. He adds, the whole purpose of being a rom-com leading man is to look as dumb and silly as possible. And part of that is to be naked and for bad things to happen to you while you're naked. Am I going to be taking my clothes off in every movie? Absolutely not. But in a rom-com, I know my function in the universe. With Anyone But You, Powell returns to the genre that made him a star, leaning hard into tropes like enemies to lovers and fake dating. After a disastrous first date, Ben Powell and Bea are thrown together at a destination wedding where they decide to pretend to be a couple. We caught up with Powell ahead of the film's release to talk about his parents' hilarious cameo, the importance of grand gestures, and the challenge of learning all of the words to Natasha Bedingfield's Unwritten. Glen Powell, I grew up in between two sisters and come from a lot of strong-willed aunts and female cousins. And on road trips, we'd listen to My Best Friend's Wedding soundtrack, and I idolized Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey. So, I love rom-coms. But in addition to watching them, I ended up working for this producer named Linda Obst, Sleepless in Seattle, when I first moved out to LA, who was one of these iconic female powerhouse producers and a trailblazer across the board, but also was known for having the Midas touch when it came to rom-coms. I was a script reader for her for a while. So I've read hundreds and hundreds of rom-com submissions and got to talk with her about which ones I liked and which ones I didn't like. I really had a rom-com education from one of the greats when it came to all this. Director Will Gluck mentioned there was a sense of Dermot Mulroney, My Best Friend's Wedding, passing the rom-com leading man baton to you on set. Did you feel that? Oh, absolutely. Dermot was very deliberate and vocal about that, and was so giving with his perspective on what he learned. My Best Friend's Wedding really defines Dermot in so many ways. That's one of his most iconic roles. He told me, don't shy away from being a rom-com leading man. Really lean into it, embrace it. The greatest gift that this business can give you is to represent love on screen for audiences. It was such a nice thing for him to say, and a nice baton to hand off to me in that way. Because these are the movies that people consume no matter if you're feeling great or terrible, rom-coms are true comfort food, and they're watchable for a reason. They make you leave the theater feeling good. That's a great gift to give to people. There's been a lack of rom-coms with scope for a long time. They've settled into a budgeted streamer version. But the big rom-com that makes you chase after the one you love in an epic third act, there's nothing better to watch than that. That's why people return to them. Dermot giving me that advice really helped me appreciate the whole process even more, looking at his perspective 20 years later. Sydney told me that your parents make a cameo in the scene where she's trying to get her shirt out of the airplane seat. How did you keep yourself from breaking with all of that happening? The funniest part about that scene in general is that my dad's the real method actor. He's stone cold asleep. I'm sitting there as Sydney is trying to do gymnastics over my face and quite often slipping and falling onto me, and I'm having to not break. Whereas my dad, he's the Daniel Day-Lewis of sleep acting. There was not a false beat in that performance. My mom is across the aisle and gets the "I'll have what she's having when Harry met Sally" moment. She gets an iconic look in that scene. She came in and killed it. I was very proud of both of them in that scene. Please tell me that you're a much better swimmer than Ben. Yeah, if I weren't a good swimmer, I think I would have drowned in Sydney Harbor or these water tanks where we shot all this stuff. It's serious currents and serious waves they were putting us through. So thank God, Sydney, and I can actually swim. There was a lot of behind-the-scenes fun with this ensemble cast. Can you tell me more about how you were building that rapport with each other? One of the first things that I did when we got down there is I took everybody to laser tag and a movie. I rented out the laser tag spot. I love laser tag. It's a great team-building activity. I didn't realize how competitive our ensemble would be. I left laser tag so soaked in sweat that I literally went a few blocks away to buy a shirt. And then I had to get someone to give me their shirt out of their car, so that when we went to the movie, I wouldn't be in wet clothes. Wait, did you get the shirt from a fellow cast member or a stranger? No, my driver on the movie, Pat, gave me a shirt out of the back of his car. Ironically, the phrase on that shirt is a phrase that Tom Cruise used to say to us on Top Gun all the time, which is, "Pressure is a privilege." And Tom Cruise is probably the only person who would leave laser tag as soaked as I was. But we just had such a great ensemble, and Sydney was so important to that chemistry because she set up activity after activity for everyone and kept everybody close. We have a group thread called "The Rest is Still Unwritten,"